babysitting grandparents, so,
Did you mention taking the
and I'm still being a babysitting grandparent.
Oh, just when you're back. So Saturday, the guy is
And I'm not even gonna be here this weekend.
and I should have like clicked on the link. So she's still instead of get too close.
Yeah, so Wi-Fi.
My wife is singing with the Beatles. She's in a choral group out of Mount Vernon, and they had a concert in Bellingham. Saturday they're in Seattle, 200 singers, orchestra. And my son, and his wife are in
Hi,
Europe
Therese,
right
can you hear
now,
us?
And my daughter is
Okay.
flying in from
I
Boston.
heard, I saw you mouth, I can. We didn't hear you though. Hold on a sec. You might be muted.
I'm unmuted.
There we go. Yep, we hear you loud and clear. Good. And you can hear us all right?
Yep.
Perfect.
What am I missing?
All in favor of adjournment? We're at start. We can bang the thing, right?
Okay, no, please.
Yes, let's
Banging.
go.
Okay, it's 5 PM. We'll call the Thursday, June 13th, 2024 Commission regular meeting to order. Position 1, Carla.
Here.
J.R. Russell here. Mary Hines.
Here.
Valerie Steely.
Here.
Cynthia Mason.
Here.
Tracy Davidson.
Hello.
Therese Kinsberry.
You see?
Vacant. Student member. Ex officio council member Chris Wigenstein.
He let me know he would not be able to make it.
Okay, that being said,
Just send it over to you.
everybody's got the agenda in front of them. Are we happy with the agenda?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Can I make a suggestion?
Absolutely.
So I actually meant it to be reversed, but we're anticipating about an hour for the art plan stuff, and then a half hour for any other considerations. And I know we have a few items we wanted to discuss. I didn't have them listed out just because we wanted to just have flexibility, make sure the main focus was on the art plan. So just depending on how much time you guys wanted to spend more time with it or less, we could adjust by that. So one suggestion is maybe
Yes.
let's start with the art plan, move that up to A, and then when you guys feel like, okay, we're good, we'll take a little breather, let these guys relax for a minute, and then cover those items before we go and get ready for the art walk.
Okay, so 5D will now move up to 5A. The art plan residency, and then we'll go from there.
Okay,
Everybody happy with that?
I'll make a motion to
Second?
approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Yep, there we go. All right. Do we have any public?
I did.
Okay.
KF. Looks like we did have a comment, public comment.
There was, yes, the one public comment.
What's that?
Oh, yeah, we gotta, oh, yeah, never, excuse me, we have to do 3 is approval of the minutes from May 9th.
I moved to approve the minutes.
We have a second.
Second.
Valerie, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the minutes are approved. Now we'll go to that public comment.
So we received one public comment that was emailed out to you. So we'll show it on the screen just for those watching. And it was regarding the change.
This was also at the,
Examiner?
what was it?
And the examiner? Was that what it
Yes,
was
thank
last
you,
week?
yeah, at the examiners too, the same comment.
Is it the same person?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
good.
Do we have to read that, or,
No.
okay,
No.
because we've all seen it,
We've all seen it at the city council meeting.
Ah.
okay?
Yeah, and I think I shared this with you guys.
Right.
when we went up there. Annie, can you hear us all right? Annie, can you hear us?
Isn't that a Michael Jackson song?
Annie, are you okay?
Annie.
Oh, she's smiling. I think she did. Try talking
Smooth
again.
criminal.
We didn't hear you. No, it's still not hearing you. Oh, there. There we go.
That's good.
Ken?
Okay, that's her new call sign, Smooth Criminal. Okay, with that, we'll move to discussion, action, and we'll go right to the new 5A, which is the art plan residency. So Leslie and company,
Yeah,
Bobo and Smooth Criminal will turn over to you.
we're so happy to be here. Yeah, the weather's good so far. Oh, we made it up by 5. Yeah, so we have a lot we want to do with you guys today. First thing we just wanted to start, mostly for our benefit, you guys probably know this for one another, but just how you guys each relate to the communities of arts and culture around and about Oak Harbor.
How do I relate?
Yeah, what are,
I live in
what are-
icebreaker here.
icebreaker, but also, you know, there's so much work went into that wonderful list of people, and it was really impressive.
Oh, it's
And
3 together?
There's all these different kind of things that are going on here. Just wondering who's connected to what things.
Pass it down. Actually, would still be considered pretty new, so I am still exploring connections.
Okay, good enough.
I do performance art. We've done performance art with my children. I've also helped to paint a few murals here in town, one at Oak Harbor Cafe. And then any kind of art stuff me and my kids are involved in.
So what, is that with the Playhouse?
No, my daughter dances with Miss Diane at the Ballet Slipper. It's a non-for-profit, and she does ballet there. And then we did recitals and competitions and local performances and stuff.
Nice.
And I'm retired Navy, but I'm now a magician, and I teach magic to kids. I perform all over the place, and I was involved with the Playhouse. My wife is a retired music teacher. She's involved with the Playhouse, and the two of us put on Whidbey Has Talent, which was an island-wide talent contest for K through 12, and we did that for a couple of years, and then and she talked me into joining this thing.
This thing.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
should be.
Teresa's on there. Teresa.
Gosh, I've been on the island for a long time now. I'm married to a musician, so
What kind?
he is a drummer and guitar player and producer, and he's got his hands in a lot of things all of his life. So that's kind of thrusted me into the world of music. And coming back home, we got involved with starting up the music festival, Oak Harbor Music Festival. So Larry's in charge of booking the bands and running the stages. And he recruited me in, and I've been president at that nonprofit for a handful of years now. And most recently started up another nonprofit, the Oak Harbor Creative Arts Foundation, that has 2 big initiatives, and that was during COVID. So we had a very slow start, but we feel like the gate's open again, and we're starting to make some noise in the community. So the 2 initiatives on the table for that are a true maker space, and to see a performing arts and event center built in Oak Harbor. So that's a big undertaking, but I've committed a handful of years to that mission.
Okay. I just want to say, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm so looking forward to having time to spend with you guys. Talk about all this stuff more deeply. Do you guys know that about each other?
Yeah.
These things? Everybody knows about each other?
A little bit,
Well,
I
I
think.
mean, you
Pretty
were-
small town, right?
I think
I'm
it's
the only
right
one that wears it on
proximity.
their shirt, so
I'm probably the least artsy on this group.
It's not a competition.
I was initially on the first art commission for Oak Harbor, and I think I was on that for 3 years, and then I got off of it, and then Cynthia made me get back on it, so Cynthia's an instigator here. So now I'm back on it. Let's see, so I have a degree in landscape design, so I'm more of a landscape person than an art person, really.
Isn't that art?
I'm a total art lover.
Landscape design is art.
Yes, it is. And I was on the visibility for the Oak Harbor Music Festival for a couple years. Other than that, that's love the
Yeah,
garden.
is Therese in there? Where did she go?
She muted herself.
She walked over.
She's
There
there.
she is.
Okay,
Therese,
she's happy.
Is it my turn?
your turn.
This is my 8th and final year on the Arts Commission. I'm on the board of Sculpture, I'm the president of the board of Sculpture Northwest, which is gifting the sculpture to Oak Harbor. I'm on the board of Whidbey Island Arts Council as the Arts and Education wing. I have a sculpture park at my private property, and I can't keep my hand next to my side. It's always in the air to volunteer. I'm responsible for about 75% of the murals in Oak Harbor, and I'm a great artist connector. Right, Mary Elizabeth?
Absolutely. And then Mary Elizabeth. Is it my turn?
Yeah, sure.
I, Mary Elizabeth, am a poet on Whidbey, along with being an insurance agent. But on the creative side, my connection to the community didn't start in Oak Harbor. It started in South Whidbey, joining the Island Bohemians, and then meeting artists there. I come new to Whidbey Island 7 years, and so I spent most of that time just meeting a lot of artists and getting connected to the art community, which led me to meet some people on the screen with 2 pairs of glasses on their face. And then connecting me to the north and the south end of the island without any boundaries. So with that, I write poetry, angsty poems, and now also connected with the city to give youth workshops in expressive writing workshops this month. Actually, this month is pretty busy. So this month I will be giving a workshop at Readiness to Learn in Langley, Pomoja Place this Saturday as well for children, which was the actual connection and desire to affect the youth on this island, because there is a gap, especially with the young people that I saw when I moved here, that we have a misconception of what art may be or what creativity looks like. And my bent is wordsmithing, and so I decided that is my initiative to bring to the island. In the immediate last year, I started connecting with small businesses to have poetry readings after hours at their locations that are not competitions or slams, just poetry readings, open space, and that brings attention to newer businesses. Most of the time those businesses are businesses of people of color, so then that brings them out of the shadows and into the community as well, and then brings people to their spaces. So and then in Seattle, I belong to the African American Writers Alliance. So I am a world traveler, artist. I don't see any boundaries type of person.
Nice. Gaylord is involved
Yes, yes, you know Gabe? Yes, so I just saw him. Were you there this
in that.
weekend?
Maybe it's something culture.
Yeah, so he has the book now about on the road. I can't remember but it's it's kind of like his own personal green book. So this writer has written a book about his growing up in California and then taking a trip. He's 80 now, so taking a trip with his family when he was a youth to the south,
Wow.
and then having had that experience, driving across country with his family and not having experienced kind of the racism in places where they had to stop to be safe. So yes, so those connections are, I've made a lot of connectivity also here on the island. There's a Hedgebrook. Kim Wilson was part of the leadership Whidbey that we belong to, so she is now she's the director of Hedgebrook. So you just start these connectivities and just kind of, it's kinetic once you start doing that.
Thank you guys. I don't know whether you did this on purpose or not, but you've got pretty much all the art forms covered. You know, music, dance, public art, writing, landscape. It's really fantastic. Thanks. That was not meant to put you on the spot, but this is. How many of you have taken the survey? Okay. If you haven't taken the survey, take the survey. You can. Not only that, but your friends can take the survey.
I did put the flyer up in the office.
Good. Well, you know, be a
Sad part is I
nag,
don't
be a
remember.
nudge. You know, we really want to do everything we can to get people's input on things and to try and entice them with things that are interesting for them to do. We were a little slammed on the schedule. I think, you know, time moved on faster than we all did. We've got Maggie now, who's the communications person of the city, which is great. And so one of the things we want to do next is to talk to you about the sort of schedule for our visit times, and how, I mean, we've talked about what our kind of overall schedule is, but us being up here with you is a really important part of that. And so we'll get as many people as we can to as many events, but we also can spend a lot of time with you guys, which is going to be very valuable. So, Bubba, you want to walk us through?
Yeah.
Did everybody get one?
Yeah, the one with the purple letters.
Yeah.
So we just hand out 3 pieces of paper. So we will start with the big picture, this one with the title said summer visit, and then after that we have to exercise with you. So let's look at this piece that that says summer visits. So this is the schedule that we have planned for this summer to come up to Old Harbor in June, July, and September. So these 3 meeting days is where we will come here visit for 2 or 3 days, and then we compile our field work, and then we do interview and focus group with the community here. So let's start with the June. So from today, Thursday, tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, we'll be here 3 days. There are a couple of things we will do with you all, starting with the advisory group as tonight. We will talk about the vision and some of the plan elements with you, and then we will end with a project art walk to the Pioneer Way. And then tomorrow morning, we have a bus tour that's open for the public to join, and then you all are welcome to join too. So we will do a bus tour to walk around, to drive around the city, to think about the gateway, how public art is curated in the city. You think about the city as the open door gallery, how public art amplify the identity of Old Harbor, and how moving forward, what can we learn from what we do currently, and how can we do better?
And that bus tour will start at the center. That's where we'll meet.
And how big is the bus?
It's a 15-passenger van. If we need additional seating, we have another minivan that we'll bring over.
Yeah, one of the things we're going to do a little later in the evening is to talk about the places that we'd like to go with you. There's a lot of stuff on Pioneer Way. There's a lot less stuff in the rest of the city. So we'll talk about that and help figure out exactly where we want to look in the van.
And Just a question, the only invitation to this was just through the flyers?
It was on Facebook too.
That's the word, that
Yeah.
was the extent
And
of
the
it.
city
Yeah, and the city.
website, correct? Yeah.
I know they posted earlier that there were still spots available on the bus.
Yeah, we have flyers at some of the facilities.
Yeah, I think one of the things we're gonna try and learn from this trip is how we can get word out better next trip.
I don't want
Mark?
to be too bummer on this thing,
Yeah.
but I had 2 people that saw that on Facebook and, believe it or not, thought it had something to do with the statue.
The angel.
It is the thing that just won't go away.
Hey, if it will get them over to give comment.
Yeah, exactly.
But Mary, to kind of your question point, yeah, I think we definitely need to work on better lead up of marketing and making sure that we have good coverage and enough time
I think a
to
lot of,
get the word out.
I'm gonna just say this. Spend a lot of time focused on marketing, and there are no bodies going into the place where bodies are, and that is a disconnect. Everybody doesn't do social media. Everybody, almost nobody goes to the city website. You have a particular demographic who goes to those places. And that particular demographic doesn't have a point of view that is really wanting to deal with this. So hence these 2 comments about what they think it is. And so we are not in community, actually the ever-changing and developing community of people in Oak Harbor that are looking for change, seeking change, or knowing that change is coming. And so there has to be, overall, there has to be a change in the way you connect to community, because the current way continues to fall short, and then we continue to get the same answers, we get the same people, and then we get the same 700 people.
Do you have some suggestions on how to
Yeah, what's
connect
your
with those
suggestion?
populations that
You need-
we're just not hearing from?
Yeah, because there's one, actually, like, we're in the middle of it right now, right? So we have the chamber source, but then those businesses inside of the chamber, and then going to those businesses inside of the chamber, and then talking to those businesses and saying, what do your clients, your people look? We have flower shops, we have people that do interior design, we have people that aren't necessarily even, and even if we're not in Oak Harbor, the sphere of influence for people that live out of the city but come in the city and then talk to their friends. You have the Collective, you have the editor for Whidbey Weekly, who drives up and down Whidbey Island like every day, finding stories. So there's just different places. There's teachers. They have lunchrooms. They have lunches. Have a talk at the lunchroom at whatever schools, so that the teachers know what's happening, because they don't, because they get bogged down and they're like this trying to run classrooms, but they don't know what's happening because it didn't get, but we sent it to the email that all the teachers get. They don't care about that. Somebody has to be in their face, just like all of us. We're busy, but we remember when someone spoke to us, and we remember when someone took the time to come out and make the difference. So I'm saying that the way that I sell insurance, if I'm gonna go out and I need clients, I'm gonna have to go out and go to the client. If we're not gonna go out to the clients, then you're not going to get any response back that is, that has a demographic that is reflective of all of Oak Harbor.
I agree totally.
I really appreciate it.
Can I just comment real
Yeah.
quick? So I want to give us all some grace on this time frame, on these dates in June, because we purposefully rushed them. And I think part of our focus with Framework Involved is getting these kinds of checklists and procedures in place. I think all of us are very dedicated in trying to accomplish each one of those things, Mary Elizabeth. And it will become procedure, or it'll become second nature, just as we're trying to get together this very intense stakeholders list to be used in different ways. I did send to teachers. I mean, we collectively have done those things. So yes to all of it, but I do want to give ourselves some grace for being in the infant stages of creating that environment and those checklists.
Absolutely.
The one thing I would add, given what is happening, how important this is, would be for Maggie as a follow-up. God, it would be so wonderful to see that, an article in the paper that said you were here, met,
Maybe you'll be
what
here again.
Framework did this, they came in, they talked about all this art, because the world doesn't know that this is being done. So we could announce to the world that not only is it being done, and then with a picture of the bus going around and people looking, et cetera, and then saying the next step. Because then you get July 2 and 3, come on out, and oh, by the way, there is a survey. Because that would be another thing that we can do to help you so that you can help us.
Yeah, it is a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Therese. I'm trying to keep an eye on you, but go
It's
ahead.
okay. There's a lot going on in there. It's okay. I was just going to say, I don't know if anybody's thought to partner with Highland Transit. I don't know marketing inside. I don't know what their avenue is, but it might be something to look into.
Yeah. I'd like to say something. And first of all, just really thanks to you guys, because you did put a lot of effort into it. Like, one of the reasons that, and we do a lot of like normal plans with cities too, which is great. But the thing that's really beautiful about art and culture and heritage and all those things is that it's an opportunity to bring people in that aren't just crabby about parking, you know, or whatever it is. They're crabby about a sculpture, but you're special. But I think that what our hope is not only to just have you be better with public art, but have you be better with community connections. And so I think both to give ourselves grace and try to find ways to raise the bar. So I really appreciate what Mary Elizabeth said. And I think if we don't get 1 million people this go around, we're going to spend some really good time with you guys and kind of get our act together and find out how we can do things
This
better.
weekend, this is a win no matter what happens.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is a win no matter what happens.
So let's take that seriously. One of the ways we do go to people is the events. So we were, Bubba was with the Ducks, duck naming, and we're going to be here for 4th of July. But again, that's a certain segment of people, and so I think if we can come out of this with some good connections to community and people that are really positive and give them some things to do. And Cynthia, it sounds like you're really good at getting people to do things. So let's figure out how to harness that with the lens of arts and culture and creativity and humanity.
And just, and my comments were not just specific just to this item, because of course there's a lot of work that's gone in, and Cynthia and JR do a lot of work. I think my comment is to city in general. This committee can only do so much, but the city
That
has.
holds true for most committees,
Right.
even at Leadership Libby or the chambers. So it is learning how to get boots on the ground and get out there.
Right. And so that's my comment, was mostly in general to the way, if we are beholden to the city as a upper piece of that, to do that. We can only do so much as we volunteer our time throughout the days. And Cynthia and JR put in an exorbitant amount of work to get things out. So just want to make sure I say that.
I would also add to that and just my observation of the commission, still being the newer person to the area as well. And coming from more of a, how a business background, and now seeing how local government operates a little bit, and how Oak Harbor operates in terms of reaching out to their constituents. I would say we are just delving into a wonderful gap analysis, as it were. Sometimes the only way to have that come to light is to actually step in where you're not really sure what's going to go on. And then all this stuff starts coming up, like we get people that think, this whole art plan has to do with one statue coming in. So it's, it's an awareness that's now going to come out because we're getting involved and trying to do something from an arts perspective for Oak Harbor. I'd say again, like Cynthia said, give yourself grace. I think all of us. And this is just an exercise in seeing what we need to put into a better process.
And even a year ago, we didn't even have this process. So from when I started, 2 years ago, to now, and even Cynthia and Therese and everybody before then, this is astronomically higher. So it's a lot. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
But it's
All it is starting the wave.
But we've come up.
The wave never makes it on the first time around. Right now, this wave here, if we can make it from home plate to center field and then a couple of people pick it up, we'll get the wave.
Well, and we might see bigger gaps. The gaps might get really big before we're done.
But then we can figure out also while we're doing this, have we spoken about the expectation of impact? What's our, yes, we have a time frame, and yes, we have the information, and yes, we want to invite community, but and as we take these steps, which are baby steps, what is our target time? Do we want 6 months from now? What do we want to look like, or do we want 2 months?
If only there was a schedule.
Yeah, let me help. Let's
Just grab it back.
get back
We gotta keep moving.
and because we will cover a lot of that.
Yeah, those are great points.
Okay.
And yeah, goal setting. You want to run us through? Okay, so let's talk about coming for July. We understand July 4th is a big day around here. That sounds great. We want to be here for the big day because that will be a lot of people. So we're kind of mirroring what we have sketched out for June there. So there will be so focus groups are people that have a particular interest in arts and culture. The open houses are everybody's welcome, and the focus groups aren't meant to be we just want people that have a stake in arts and culture, or have some relationship to it, or maybe they're potential leaders, or maybe they're people who would want to take that time for whatever reason. The open house is for people that just kind of are interested and might want to show up. So hopefully we'll get word out this trip, and we can get some more people to some more focus groups.
Yeah, and I want to add to that the focus group could also be a safe place, Mary illustrated and mentioned, people might feel more comfortable and safe sharing in a small group on a particular topic or specific need for them in terms of art and culture. This will be a good opportunity for them to come in, or we go to them. So we're going to learn from our visit in June and see how we can do better in July and September.
Yeah, and I think I've noted that your youth position is open still.
I've been trying.
And again, grace. Everybody gets grace. But how can we have a little bit of a magnet? Because people want to spend their time on something that they get excited about, and the more that we can do that people can get excited about, the more that we can attract those. So if there's a focus group of youth, that would be great. So I know that you guys do have connections in the community, and, you know, how can we do that? Maybe summer's the wrong time to do that, maybe we have to wait till school cranks up. You know, we've got our schedule, but we want to be flexible. Our point here is to really be here for you guys and make the most out of all this time and effort.
Maybe it's one of us going to the high school and talking to the art classes, you know, just a little
Yeah.
thing to get them excited and maybe recruit.
Well, I think having the thing that attracts people is the best, right? We're doing these things, and you know, I don't know how the best way to do the messaging is with the, you know, the controversy that's been around the angel of controversy.
It used to be creativity.
Yeah, no,
I know.
yeah.
I read that too. But, you know, I guess there are those who feel that all publicity is good. I'm not sure that's true, but maybe there's a way of turning that into some lemonade. I don't know, but it would certainly be an interesting topic.
We certainly could, there's a couple of opportunities with a booth set up in July to, exactly what you said, maybe in the fall we can get somebody.
Okay. All right. So anyway, that's kind of, we're playing that. We do have a virtual opportunity for people to join a focus group in July. So we just tried to give a lot of different kind of times of day and stuff. And so we're kind of relying on you guys to beat the bushes. And it sounds like you've got some good ways to do that. So.
Yeah.
What were you doing today?
Yeah, and quickly, big picture here. So July and June we'll do the visioning. That's where we understand what people needs and your vision, your hopes and dreams. And then we'll come back in September. That's the stakeholder confirmation. So we will summarize everything we heard into some topical items, and then with some strategy to confirm with people. Did we cover everything we heard from you? Are these strategy resonate with you? And then with that, we will move forward to drafting the plan. So
Yeah, a little bit on the kind of content side. We got really excited about flags. It seems to be a thing, and so we've got some
It's Flag Day tomorrow.
You know,
June 14th is Flag Day.
yeah, and then we're here for 4th of July, and you know, flags can be anything. You know,
Yeah.
they can be hung in front of your house and cause controversy. Anyway,
Upside
but
down.
we've got what we wanted to do is have it be an opportunity for people to say or draw what they love about Oak Harbor, what represents Oak Harbor to them, what they want it to be. So we've got some things for people that don't draw, but we also have opportunity for people to draw things. So we've got like some starfish and a bunch of different things that people can see what they like. But when we're here on the 4th of July, then people can make those into flags and like a pennant kind of thing. So you can see the thing, they have a droop, and take some photos of themselves where they would like to see some art. So that's some kind of fun. Anybody have any thoughts
I
on
think it sounds great.
that?
Okay. So, one last quick question before we move into what we're going to do today. So there are 2 TBDs time slot in the July visits. That's the drop-in session. We will be working in the interpretive center, there, so everybody who interested in the art plan have something to say can come in and talk to us and see our process. So we have 2 time alternative here. One is on July the 2nd, Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. The other one would be July 3rd, Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. So the 10 a.m. one on Wednesday is a work day, so we wonder if it makes sense we move it to the Tuesday night, and the suggestion here.
So those are times that we're around and here. We'll be working on the plan if nobody wants to talk to us. And but it's also a time to schedule if you want us to talk to somebody that wants to talk one-on-one. I know you mentioned like the school superintendent or the mayor, somebody that was at graduation. So feel free to use that time for us to talk to
Would you
folks.
be willing to talk to the chamber?
Yeah, we'll talk to anybody. Yes.
Absolutely.
Because maybe that's something that we try to get them to add on to one of their meetings as,
Right, they have a networking,
because it'd
lunch
just be, you know,
where they
the-
usually have a speaker.
Yep, it's next Thursday. On the 20th.
And then on the,
It's the third Thursday. of every
yeah,
month.
at the chamber, you can do
Oh.
holler for $1.
no,
And
we
then you
don't,
get to do your, you
no,
get.
we don't want a 30-second pitch. We,
Well, those are just just informational,
Yeah.
but you can, I think the next month, what is it, July?
July.
Maybe this month, someone could
Sounds
holler
like
for
it.
dollar about the survey.
I will,
I mean,
Several people
I
have
know,
too.
maybe we can do it in a
Oh,
row.
really? Oh, really?
We just pay our $1 each and then just go in line and then just keep repeating it back to back.
yeah, continued.
We used to get a paragraph.
Okay. Yes. So, okay, then we'll follow up with that at a time. Okay, so without further ado, we have two big things we want to do with you today. One is this worksheet I sent out earlier that have 3 questions we're going to discuss, and then after that we'll go for a walk. Okay, so let's look at the handouts here. So today is about visioning, we want to know what you love about Old Harbor, about the art here, and then we will talk about the element and the art plan, also potential funding and partnership opportunity. So here is the worksheet. There are 3 big questions we want to know from you. The first one would be, what do you love about Old Harbor and the art here? And then if you have the magic swan, what would be the 3 things you would like to achieve through this plan?
I have a ton of them.
And then I'm gonna read through all of this, and then
None of
maybe
them
we.
work.
Yeah. I'm gonna read through all of this, and then maybe we take 5 minutes. We think about this in silence, and then we have some inspirational image to share. Annie also have some data to share, and then we can open up the discussion. Okay. So the second question is about public arts program and events. So I know Perry, our artist, is going to be here tomorrow, Saturday, to talk about the technical stuff with all of you in terms of how to set up a call for artists, what are the standards, how do we say yes and say no. But before that, we want to know what are the current art program here, what's your favorite, what is going right. So that's the second question. And the third question is for Annie. Understanding funding and partnership. So what are the untapped funding resource and partnering opportunity that you think will support the art and culture in Old Harbor? So with that, maybe I'll play some music. We take 5 minutes to think about this question, and then we'll come back and share. all of these are what we feel Old Harbor to us. So we want to know what speak Old Harbor to you, and the art, and then I'll pass to Annie to talk about some of the funding and partnership opportunities she found in her research.
Great, thanks, Sabo. So, I think we like to start these assessments and plans with some kind of level setting around the knowledge around the financial situation for the folks doing this kind of work. And some of this may be information that you already know, but I think putting it in context and scale and in context with peers is really helpful. So what we did is, as a starting place, we just looked at the State Auditor's Office Financial Intelligence Tool data. So that is data that's provided by the City of Oak Harbor to State Auditor's Office as part of their requirements as a government. It should closely match what's available in the Oak Harbor's accounting system, but I just want to note there may be some discrepancies or differences. And as we go through this process, we will leverage data from your finance department to make sure that whatever we present resonates with how you currently look at your budget. But the thing that was most interesting is that you do have a creative arts fund with dedicated funding for arts in your city, which is unique. I think we would all like to think that cities throughout Washington have dedicated funding tools for arts, and that's actually not the case. This is a great starting place that you do have dedicated resources for arts. However, what we found is that you have a very limited, a 0.25% tax on a subset of utilities. So it's not all utilities that are charged in Oak Harbor. It's just a subset, which is solid waste, sewer collection and treatment, and your water utility. And so those are the tax dollars that are dedicated to arts. This tax is not levied on cellular service, electricity, natural gas, landline, or stormwater. So there's a lower utility tax for those things. This additional 0.25% increment of tax is not generated on those other utilities. And what that means is that you get about $60,000 per year to fund the Creative Arts Fund from that source. And just to put that in context, that is about 2% of the overall utility taxes that are collected in Oak Harbor. So it's a really small share of the overall utility taxes. So I think the takeaway here is it's great that there's a dedicated source. We're going to grapple with the fact that that's a limited source. When I do this analysis, we often look at two other potential funding sources that are often charged for the benefit of arts and culture in Washington cities. Those are the lodging tax and admissions tax. And what we found is you do levy a lodging tax in Oak Harbor. Your Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, like in all cities, is responsible for selecting projects to fund with that money. I looked at the projects that were funded for the last several years. What I found is that it mostly goes to marketing of tourism events. It's not going directly to arts events, even though it may support the marketing of those events. For example, $60,000 went to marketing for the Oak Harbor Music Fest in 2023. So, I would not consider that a funding source for arts at this time. And then the other thing we looked at is admissions tax. It does not appear that the city levies an admissions tax, but you are able to levy an admissions tax of up to 5% on all admissions to events, galleries, museums, what other things you might have. You're not currently doing that. There may not be a place for doing that in Oak Harbor. It may not make sense to do that. And the thing we always want to think of with the admissions tax is how does that also impact arts? So yes, it generates potentially funding for arts, but it also impacts our small arts businesses, galleries, performance venues, etc. So it's important to be thoughtful about the realities of that funding source. So putting that spending in context, what we see, and this is the next slide, Bobo, what we see is, while $60,000 is a substantial amount of funding, this is a pretty limited fund. There are some important observations we can make. One is that you do have an unencumbered fund balance right now. So there are some dollars that are available potentially in your fund balance for future capital outlay. You do have the resources to make some big moves or to do some larger scale things. still fairly modest resources. I think there's a projected fund balance of $316,792 in 2024. You can see that in the upper right-hand corner. And then the other observation to make is that, you know, a lot of the activities that you're funding for operations and maintenance, which include, I think, a lot of your preservation activities, are still, you're spending in the range of $20,000 a year. So that's about 1/3 of the overall new dollars that are coming into the Creative Arts Fund every year. And what that tells us is that you might have the ability to spend more of those dollars, or, you know, to consider programming for arts in addition to just capital outlay. You know, those are recurring dollars. You have them every year. There may be considerations around whether you want to do other kind of recurring or ongoing programmatic activities with those dollars. What we're going to do at this stage is we're, like I said, going to work with your finance department to do some more in-depth analysis. We'll also compare some of these things with other cities throughout Washington. The great thing about the State Auditor's Office Financial Intelligence Tool data is that it's data for all the cities in Washington. So we can make some great peer comparisons. I would love to hear from you all if you have specific communities that you think of as peers or otherwise of interest in comparison for any benchmarking analysis we might do. And also if there's specific questions you have about how the Creative Arts Fund is funded, how other activities in arts are funded in Oak Harbor, or you know, what dollars have been spent on historically. Those are, you know, questions that I will be digging into, but if there's specific lines of inquiry from any of you on this call, I would love to hear that so that we can make sure that those things are investigated and so that we end this project with a really clear understanding of the intricacies of revenues and expenditures for arts in Oak Harbor.
Okay, thank you, Annie. Okay,
Thoughts?
so with that, we'll open up for discussion, share of hopes and dreams.
Well, let's start with responding to what Annie was talking about. Who do you guys compare yourself to as peer cities? Just totally unique.
We are
Yeah.
truly.
I don't think.
Oak William.
This one necessarily, yeah. Because if you're looking at who else is on the island, Oak Harbor is a completely different demographic mix than Langley or Coopville, or the other two cities that are considered part of the island.
Anacortes, LaConner,
No,
keep going, you go right
Yeah,
up.
Skagit
Anacortes,
County.
LaConner, Mount Vernon, Deception Pass, we speed up, and then get to Coopville, even Greenbank, people will stop there.
You know, it's almost like, as far as like in my travels and not being from here, what is it, Linden?
Oh, yeah.
That's as close
Interesting.
that I've seen because it has the duality of this homegrown, you know, culture of farm people and people that have, you know, live here and grown here and the Dutch, and then you have then the outside of that, you have people that are moving, they're in the outskirts of Bellingham, kind of like more liberal, but kind of liberal-ish, but we don't want to live in the city, so you still have that kind of that. You have, but then you still have in that, with these two kind of separate type of mindsets politically, you still have this really tight sense of community, but also some trying to marrying of growth, but still trying to stay the same. So they got the flag. So it's a little bit of that. My friend is an editor in a newspaper, so where he's like California, but he's then the editor of this conservative town newspaper. So there's this, I mean, I think that that's one of the things that is, you can't kind of pigeonhole overall. You know, it's if you just talked about it, then you were like, oh, but like, no, you have to like be there. And we're like a lot of small towns in many cities all over the country that again are old towns. But then you have kids or whatever, or new people coming into town, that there continues to try to be a balance because they've moved there because they like it to be a small town, but then they also like, but I need, you know, we need internet. No. So.
We need art.
We're untapped potential here. That would be one thing. It's a town that would be ready to be tapped because it has a lot to offer.
Yeah. To make that more visible somehow?
You look out there, you see it, you look, the trees, the mountains. It's,
We're an island.
and we're an island, and people always ask me, they say, you live there?
Mhm.
Huh.
Just having them make the maps.
Yeah.
Could you guys talk a little bit about your relationship to local versus tourism? You know, the funding from the hotel motel tax goes to basically trying to attract tourists. And that supports local business, but what is it about yourselves and inviting other people to be here?
Wow. Okay, I'll go. I think we want to invite tourists, we want tourists to stop here, but we don't have anything that will make them stop. And I think people keep trying to come up with ideas like, oh, you know, we got rid of the windmill, so now we have to get the windmill back because that made people stop. I don't think that made people stop, but I don't know. I don't know how we get tourists to stop here. Because they just drive right through and go to Coopville and Langley.
But there's food.
I have,
There is food.
I was blessed because of my role with the music festival to be invited to the county level, a tourism change of mindset, if you would. And this was developed, I can speak to you about this a lot because I find it very interesting. It's kind of my gallyway because I think it's a really untapped asset for Oak Harbor. But what was positive out of that experience, and we'll sidebar on it, but it was all of the chambers, and it was driven by the county, and they brought in a consultant, the Transformational Travel Group, and it was a new way of approaching inviting our tourists to the island as a whole, not pocketing Clinton and Coopville, but as a whole. And it was basically, I think the Netherlands was one of the first countries to adopt this way of tourism, if you would. It's a whole plan, but it's inviting the right people to be engaged in the communities because of their interests, be it farming or restaurants or, you know, going to the Navy and seeing planes. But it was also a way of managing it so that you don't become overloved and destroyed. So, and that's very important to those that love EVs and our farmlands and our shorelines. So there's this really important place for tourism economically, and I believe in that driver. So for Oak Harbor, I think the untapped potential for art and the community's involvement with art would invite people to stop for all of the things we have to offer. With that being said, since Brian's come on board, who I'm the biggest groupie of ever, we actually have the community like us that love and see the potential for art to grow in the right fashion, to improve the health and the economics of this community. We never had that connection inside the city. So just like we said, just this conversation is so golden, you just don't understand. It's just so golden that we have Brian that understands the asset in it. And we have council that's starting to hear it. And it's not sports against art, it's both. It's a combination of both. So we see this transition of old residents and the old mindset of go away, we don't want you, we don't want things to change, we're fine. But then you have those that find this paradise and want all the good things and believe in change, believe in that economic. So that's, it's a very hard thing to balance when it's so polarized.
We have a plus and minus because we're a military town. We can say whatever we want, it's still a military town. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because you get all these young, new people come in, they want to get involved with their families, fresh minds, fresh ideas, and they'll get involved. The minus is they move. The plus is, yeah, they come in with all these great ideas and everything like that, and they can't vote. Because a lot of them maintain residencies in other places, so things that come up, bonds, levies, things for schools, and stuff like that, they don't get to vote on that.
And their kids are the ones.
And their kids are the ones
Mostly.
that, so we're in a unique situation here that the voice, the real voice can't be heard.
That's really interesting.
And this.
Or an important voice.
Or, yes,
And
it's better to say an important
There's no other
voice.
military installation on the island other than Oak Harbor too, right?
Right, and then the
So-
other part of that is like zip coding in the city boundaries. Like, the city is only like this area, but the zip code is like, so, all the way to like Coopville, and then all the way out to, Deception. But you can only, but the only, this like 4 mile, like area is what can vote on the stuff that's happening in the city, which is also a different type of demographic, a different kind of mindset. And so again, like JR said, it's a unique.
Yeah, and to comment about the LTAC funds being involved in the grant writing process, it's the state that defines what those are for. So it's the whole process is driven and it's defined for a traveler 50 miles away, defined as a tourist. And how do you prove that you're bringing that person to our town? So the whole process is, and that's why you see those
The heads and
awards.
beds thing,
Yes.
yeah, I know.
And that, even that conversation is starting to change a little bit, like really what does define a tourist? It's not just a head and bed, so and again, that's that transformational travel. It was a big, long 8 weeks workshop and very involved, so it was an Island County buy-in that we collectively would start marketing this way.
So not right now, but I would love to sit and pick your brain.
Yeah.
I think there's a bunch of conversations we'd like to
Yeah.
have, so, but here, so then we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the tourism thing is pretty interesting, and then what is creativity for yourselves? What kinds of things support local businesses and local artists, local creativity economically? You know, they're not completely unrelated, but I mean, that would be an interesting discussion in the Chamber of Commerce, and some of their,
We have the art trail, the art map,
Mhm.
for all of Whidbey, not just Oak Harbor. So the
Speak up just a little.
the art trail, the Whidbey Island Art
Yeah,
Trail.
thank you.
So that's all artists who want to participate, up and down Whidbey. I mean, off island, and off island, I went to my high school reunion, and I had friends, and they were in California, and they were like, "You live on Whidbey Island? I hate you." And then, but it was also the art, and so the art, it's the art on Whidbey. Away from Whidbey, it's the art, the artist, the proximity to beauty, and then the thought of people coming here just so they can like paint. Me, myself, like discovering that I'm moving to Whidbey Island that has a writer's retreat. You know, like what? Headbrook, and then there's another one, and then there's also, so there's these things like that that are off island. Like you don't appreciate it when you live in it, but when you go off, And so the attraction to this, the tourist piece, like you're saying, is that the art and, you know, the Angel, for whatever it is, if it is marketed properly, regardless of what the people here think about it, they still want to eat and they still need money, and so you can complain about the tourists, but you also want your kids to have better jobs. And so, or you want to have better jobs, but there's no jobs if there's no money, and if there's no tourists, there's nothing to bring it here. And so those are the opportunities.
We're an island, and people will go, that ferry is gonna be packed this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Not to necessarily come up here, they're gonna be in the south end of the island. And the ferry is gonna be packed to go to Friday Harbor and Orcas Island, also islands, and everybody is, you know, oh, tourist, that's a tourist stop, but they don't say Oak Harbor.
But the opportunity to jump off here is so.
And Deception Pass is a huge
Yeah.
park. I mean, a lot of people go there.
I would say, you know, I mean, I'm from this region, I've driven all kinds of places, and there are cities where you don't realize they've got a really wonderful nucleus somewhere, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
You know, in Route 20, I'm going out wherever I'm going. I didn't know, you know, I came here because my kid forgot a sleeping bag, and there's a Walmart, right? So one time I went to Walmart. So, you know, one of the things that we want to think about with the van tour is, you know, what are the gateways? You know, clearly you've thought about gateways over the years. There's little signs, you know, some are nicer than others, but most of them I have to be looking for it to find that. Is there something that you want to say, welcome to people, welcome to yourselves? You know, like
We don't have the Buc-ee sign yet,
Welcome to the sunset.
where it's like Buc-ee's in 290 miles, you know, Buc-ee's
That's right, that's
250 miles. There's none that says Oak Harbor.
all drug. Well,
We did have the Oak Harbor Hotel, the one that when you're coming
Yeah.
from Anacortes.
But-
Yeah, the Oak Harbor Inn, whatever.
Maybe, I don't know, this is trying to wrap my head around this as I was driving off the island the other day. There's the sign, driving off the island, going into Mount Vernon, there's a sign that says Hydros. And I'm, wait a minute, that's back there. When it came time, the same thing for the Holland Happening. The billboard is facing everybody that's going east instead of turning around, you're driving, oh, here. So
They
it's-
have that choice when they buy the billboards.
I know, but no, there's how messed up we are. We don't even know where to put our signs and when we do have them.
Well, even like Skagit Raceway, they have pop-ups here in town.
Right.
That's off island.
Right.
I mean, I would say your gateway are the airplanes.
That's one
Yes.
of them.
Yeah, is one of them.
That's
And,
one.
and this is kind of a timely discussion because we're working with the chamber right now to replace our entry signs. We have one on the south end on 20 and one at the north end.
They're too small.
Yeah, they're very old. They're kind
very
of
old. Very
they're
old.
rotted out underneath. And so the question, the homework assignment was for me to go and get some cost estimates. But that is a huge range depending on what kind of a sign you put. Is it an electronic sign that we can, you know, advertise events on it? Or is it an artistic sign? You know, there was a discussion, one brought up about a sign that actually spans the, you know, from on
Yes,
both
I
sides,
like
right?
those.
Like a, you know,
Yes.
Like
like that. You gotta be
Anacortes.
careful with that because we have, you know, shipments and boats and things coming in and
Yeah.
out, so clearance.
I
But,
still like my idea.
but there's, what one's yours?
So we have 2 signs on the island, and I'm part of that team, so I'm trying to find the answers to the questions that it's buried a little deeper than I thought it should be. There's one at Pass Lake, and it's the Whidbey Isle Scenic route, and that it's, you know, whatever it says on the bottom, the byway of Whidbey Island, and it has the cutout of Whidbey. And on the south end, it's the same design, so it's the metal with the cement base. It's welcome to Clinton, and it's still advertising the byway. So I'm trying to find who designed them and installed them to welcome Oak Harbor. And then in the cement part, you're still on the scenic byway. Like, we're still part of this.
Deception Pass, you will not be able to get a campground spot if you haven't already made your reservation. They're filled
For
up.
next year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they are filled up
Next
for the
year.
summer. And that's 500, 600 spots of people coming to do those campgrounds.
Do they come into town?
They're
We don't know.
obviously,
You don't
They
know.
might
We
go to
don't.
the tourist Walmart to get something.
yeah, probably to Walmart.
Or the grocery.
But
Yeah.
that park is rated #1
In the
most
state.
visited park in our state.
But the other part of that.
And the other one is on the base that is also filled
For Navy.
for the Navy.
I
We
was
have all the retiree, or, you know, right, retirees, all the people come and drive in their stuff, they go park over there, it's filled.
But they also, I think, end up going to like Anacortes. And so, but I think, and I wasn't here before, and so I'm in this part, and I think that one of the things is maybe Oak Harbor over the years, in the whatever, 20 years ago, did not have a growth and was flat. And you had that tapping down of like change. And so it's really, I think, like, you know, what Cynthia's saying is like we're really working on changing the narrative of Oak Harbor. Not so much like we don't have the things, but it's the narrative that people are used to versus the actuality. And it's really just changing the narrative and continuing. It's like it's a slow process, right? But this is part of that.
You know, and on that point, and also to your comment about the Gateway Jets, you know, we have an opportunity to do something with that space. It's Navy owned, but I think we both have support from council and a very supportive Navy to do something more if we wanted to. Beautify it in some way, you know, make it a photo op location, a little more accessible, you know, whatever we wanted to do with it. I think there just needs to be a vision that we can get sign off on from the Navy and then move forward with.
I still, yeah.
And same thing with the, you know, the entry signs is, I think the desire is to have something in place that when people come to Oak Harbor, they know they are arriving in Oak Harbor, right? Like there is a change in the right of ways, or whether that's lighting or suddenly there's nice sidewalks or whatever, but something that just makes you say, oh, this is nice. You know, just that one moment of, oh, this is neat.
Let's
you know?
stop here.
Right.
Yeah.
As that was my number one thing. I said deception past to Pioneer, because like I said, if you're driving up, you go to Sharp's Corner there, you do the roundabout, and they're like, come on, Fred, let's turn over here. And then they see the lake and this Mount Erie, Fred, stop, take a picture, look, we're fishing. And then they go up a little further and they're like, my God, what is this? This deception. Fred, stop the car, take a freaking picture. And then you go over and like, oh, it's a state park. Fred, turn down there, take a picture. Then you go up a little further and like, oh my God, a jet just flew over my head. Fred, pull over the car, take a picture. Then you go up a little bit further and you're like, oh, there's 2 airplanes over there on the oh, there's no place to pull over. Keep going, Fred. And then you go downtown, like Walmart, let's go to that Coopville place. And you zip right on through.
Yeah, we have too many brands along the entryway of our both directions.
Yes.
And so they just make assumptions.
Well,
Right.
you know, there was some, I mean, you guys are the workhorse of Whidbey Island, right? I mean, it's hard to compete with Coopville and Langley for cuteness.
Yes.
So, like, maybe you don't need to do that, right? So, who are you? You are the place where people come because they need stuff. Is there a way of, like, thinking about that in a way that it's not, you know, kind of commercial signage, but there's something there that you're important and necessary to the whole community?
Come for the shopping, stay for the sunset. You see the sunsets on West Beach?
Mm-hmm.
The sunsets are like, I mean, like just without having to get out of your car and just like since everybody's driving.
And there's very few spots along the way to go to look at them.
But if you're like, if you know, like you're like JR saying, the sign, and that sign like right when you get to the, you know, to the Growler Plains, if there was a sign and it said this way to West Beach. West Beach was all over the news when they had the flooding. It was like crazy. There's some place on the top of the hill when you're coming down from West Beach and you're going down, that view where you can see Deception and then out to
You can see the
the,
San Juan Islands.
it's amazing. And if there's something like we can like I will, I'm social media maven. I will make Oak Harbor video every day if you had that. I'm just saying that there's a way to tap into outside of through social media, and without, I know you have social media people, I'm just more like less structured and not overthinking it, right? Just like, how do you know what it's like if you don't know what it's like? But then there's someone that will go out and then this is what it's like today. It doesn't have to be live, but it doesn't have to be alive. It doesn't have to be. It just like, we're here, we're out here, we're here. There's JR doing whatever. There's,
If you haven't been over there, you should see it. So you take Crosby Avenue.
Okay,
A Crosby will take you out to Joseph Woodby State Park.
okay.
And that area is called West Beach. And there's a row of, houses, and there's a nice little parking lot with a nice little state park there, and a beach, and there's a hill that goes up, but like it's amazing.
We're going for the sunset.
Right.
Yes,
right.
I'll be there.
And there's also like
Is that the
what do they do
one
there?
too?
Windsurfing?
Yeah.
Off of that pond.
Oh, jeez. So I would say that one thing you guys need would be the Turn Here Fred. What is the Turn Here Fred thing?
There's one that would talk about me being military. I say it's the untapped resource. We say military town, but we don't have the perfect relationship. We need to make it better. Because if you go into Washington, D.C., and you go out to the monuments, they have color guards. The Marines are out there doing their tattoo and all these kind of things. We always had this sign that says, "Pardon our noise, it's the sound of freedom, if you don't like it, get out," that type of thing. So instead of fighting over the noise, we should embrace it, and that's where you can get the military in it. If you had like the flight of the Capistranos, you say, guess what? Happy hour every Friday at 4:37, the jets will fly right down Pioneer, over the water, and on their way. And it's not that they can't do it, because they do it anyways. And they take a different turn with a jet, and somebody's out there saying, "Hey, today's flyby is being brought to you by."
How many people are in love with Blue Angels?
I am.
Exactly.
I love Blue Angels.
That's the air museums. There's all these things that
Oh,
are
and
tapped.
speaking of that, so there's a unique opportunity there. The Naval Air Museum is building a new facility, bigger and nicer, to really be a destination place. So that's something that we'll want to kind of,
That was one of my
highlight
pluses
as a-
that I said,
right.
that it's coming. There's potential there that needs to be.
Because like JR said, there are a lot of retired military that come
Yes.
here on vacation because of the amenities at the base for military personnel. They have an amazing RV park right on the beach, one of the nicest beaches on the island there. And and they come see the Naval Air Museum.
And then you have people here that live here on the island.
Retired military.
Well, no, I'm talking active military with spouses, and they are at a loss for what to do with themselves, with their children, and how do I, what do I do? So they may leave. That sometimes they will leave for the weekend to go wherever, because they live here, but they don't know what is there to do. And there are things to do, but they just don't know anybody to bring them along. So you have this group of people who come here through whatever months over time, and then I guess the Navy gives them a list of like resources, but there's no people, right? To like bring them in or show them, or so they're kind of just like, sometimes there's a lot of depression and not ability to like know. So that if we can tap in to bringing those moms or spouses into community, even if it's temporary, and then allowing them, I don't know how to do that.
Chamber does in-docking still.
Yeah, I could sympathize with some of that, but I don't see that as much, because I've involvement with the schools, and there's,
And now with the enhancements of.
There-
Right, so that also
You
speaks
guys-
to, you know, the fledgling recreation department.
Yeah.
That was just created. And, you know, looking at everything from activations, more special events, summer camps, you know, different kid camps, as well as like, you know, co-ed softball. You know, that the Navy and the city actually used to do back in like the 80s and 90s.
Can we do that?
So just, you know, providing a comprehensive
And-
offering of programming, including our programming. So our programming is definitely something that we want to kind of see of what is that needs assessment of the community of what they would like to see in offerings.
but programming
This is the first ever.
costs money.
Yeah, Brian.
That, I was just, because I just did a family class at the center on Friday night, and people, you know, dropped their kids off. And the discussion for them and looking at activity guide is which one, but then looking at prices, you know, $300 for a camp. You know, people, now everything costs money to go to camps and do things. So you're taking our class, it's $200. And when you look at the salary of a young enlisted, that's the same salary as a 40-hour burger flipper at McDonald's.
Super interesting. We're not gonna solve any of it tonight, which is fine.
No, it'd be
But
great
we
if you
can
could just
have
give
our
us the.
vision.
Yeah,
We probably should get that, you know.
We have a
fix
lot of
it?
magic ones, but none of them work.
Yeah, that.
So, if
Go ahead.
I can, because we didn't get to, you said we were gonna get to 5, B, C, can we
This table on it.
just table, would you guys be comfortable with?
Yeah, I
you
guess
guys don't count.
that's, yeah, good point. We are at
Just-
6:30 now.
We just
We
table
do
all
have
that?
another focus group for the commission on, let's see, which one is that? That's Saturday at 12:30.
Do you guys all have our contact info?
No, we don't want it. No.
We have a subcommittee that has, you know, been working with you guys, and they've been on, but we haven't done it with the whole commission.
No,
so I
and,
think we have a
cause,
few
and that's,
guys on.
I was gonna say to you, Brian, cause I was kind of, I get confused on the emails, because if it's involving you guys, I knew it was a subcommittee, I didn't wanna break some law by, you know, like, oh my
Jumping
God,
in.
there's 4 people involved, and we, you know, so somebody's gotta get shot, you know, so I don't know what we can do and what we can't do when we're talking to.
Yeah, just anytime that we're having a group discussion of 4 or more, we just have to notice it, right? So we try to avoid, you know, sending an email that has like a reply to all, you know, asking for feedback or any kind of discussion. We can send something out just as information, and you can do that to the commission, and you guys can answer them. It's always best to kind of blind copy. It's a little loose with that. We don't have to follow the same sunshine laws that council does, but I think as a city we do try and follow those best practices. But
Because I know we'd like to be, you know, hear what you guys say, but we didn't want to do anything.
Well, I mean, we'll talk as much as you want, but I want to listen to you. Right, and I think you guys listen to each other. It seems like this is a really good discussion. And it just seems like such a great moment right now in Oak Harbor. It's really exciting.
Okay, back to the committee stuff then, for the
Yeah.
commission, would anybody entertain a motion to table the rest of
A motion to table the other 2 items,
the other
3 items for the next
meeting? And then we can table the rest of the,
Unless you had something. I would just say, unless Brian had something immediate.
I do have a question about this draft.
Is the motion on the table?
yeah, Fisher, your motion. I don't have anything that is urgent enough that we need a
Okay.
motion from
Okay.
the commission.
so we got a motion, we've got a second. All in favor? Okay, so the rest of that is done, so now we can move on to
This.
this.
I do have, I don't know, did we talk about this or no?
When we talk about tours.
Well, no, I know, I just, the focus group invitation,
Oh.
is that something that we will or won't talk about? I just have a question about it.
It's sent, right? So,
So this is sent, do we have a,
What are you looking at, Mary Elizabeth? Oh, yes, that was part of the language.
I
do we
I
have
don't know
one?
if that we've sent you guys a calendar. I mean, other than a notice, by email and it's
Only because I
on
want to
the thing.
give this
You guys want me to
to
send you an actual calendar invite, just
If
like
you
we do
could
for the
give me-
commission meetings?
It's in part, I'm sorry, let me see those
Yeah,
print
'cause-
outs that I gave you, the colorful ones.
All we can do, at least we can say
It should be
no or,
translated
but
into here somehow.
Just so we're,
And then you guys were asking about July 2nd, July 3rd for the focus groups. A lot of people might be taking that Wednesday off because of the day before the holiday, because
Okay.
a lot of people are going to have Friday off as well.
Yeah.
So,
we're just offering a lot of options because
Yeah.
people do different
As
things,
a heads
especially
up.
in the summer, but yeah, no, appreciate that. It's a weird day.
yeah, I'm off.
well, while we were here, I have sent the survey to, three,
People.
to three different, maybe 4 or 5, people in community that have their own circles of community, then asking them to take the survey and then also pass on to their communities or to their groups, and then following up with them. I will be able to follow up with them to do that.
And isn't it our intention to send that to our stakeholders list by way of email, Brian, once it's more complete? Or are we
Yeah.
gonna take it in
Meg-
stages?
no, Megan's been sending them out.
Okay, so that's been
Yeah, I'm just
going
like
out to the businesses and
doing
the
like
artists
a
on that
personal
list.
one.
Yeah,
So just
yeah, I sent it to a few teachers and, yeah, they sent it on.
I think it helps
Yeah.
that we use
I did the same.
our spheres
I think you
of
did right.
influence, if that's what they want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or we can just take these flyers and throw them on the ground all through the town and let people pick them up because they're nosy. And then,
Teresa's.
Therese has her hand, her finger's been up for an hour and a half.
Thanks, Mikhail, for sending me the survey. I took it. I'd like to be able to share that. I have access to 5 Facebook pages, and they're followed by hundreds of people. So I don't think that I would be able to go back into my email list.
And
And
I
try to
have
think-
3 of 5s of friends that follow me.
Teresa, the PDF was emailed out from Bobo.
I can send the links to,
Yeah,
if that's.
yeah,
so you have that
if you
PDF
send us those.
in an attachment in
then I
an
can
email.
forward them to them.
Okay.
And she said she'll send out the link to it too.
Okay, thanks.
And interestingly, the group, the African American Writers Alliance, like for artistic, they're like, ooh, you live on Whidbey? Ooh. And so it's like the interest in Whidbey and coming to Whidbey, and then specifically to be like Oak Harbor and then creating that. And I think some of the work that Cynthia is doing with her nonprofit, I think in the future, I think we just, it will explode in such a way that it brings a broader demographic to Whidbey Island that is not just like
Kind of
Langley.
growing that.
Langley.
They'll stop.
I love what you're saying of like people go, ooh, because that means they want an invitation,
Mhm.
right? So the writer's workshop is awesome. I mean, aren't there 2 sculpture parks on Whidbey?
Mhm.
There's more than that.
There's more.
Oh, I'm screwed.
Yes, well, there's the Earth Sanctuary, which is an incredible space if you've not been through that.
Yeah.
And Price Sculpture Park,
Yeah, I've been
there's
to
one
Price.
that we looked at in our Arts and Culture Day,
What
one
is that?
at the end of the road that has some access issues with the art gallery attached to it.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
The map.
Look, Bobo's got a map.
Oh, there you go. And then Therese
Therese.
and John Kingsbury's property is a private park, so it's by appointment only.
We've got enough, we can have a whole color
Oh,
of
this is
sculpture
just-
parks.
Yeah, this is just.
You don't have the water stained one from Holland Happening?
I took pictures.
Why don't you pass this around? And,
I think it needs to go right over that way.
well, okay, we can start that way.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I was thinking, oh,
Oh, well, you figured it out. I see, we have sculpture parks in Orange. Art in the
Okay.
park, okay.
Thank you.
While we're passing this around, can we just have people say what they love that you wrote down? You can come up with other things later that you love if you want.
You love nothing?
I skipped that question.
That's hard.
You still got an A.
I wrote that there's just so much to see and do with the arts here. I moved here, and then less than a year later, COVID happened. And so we did a lot of walking. And that's when I started seeing all the murals and the statues, and that's when I was like, okay, this is cool. And then that's one of the reasons why I love the arts here.
I was impressed when I first moved here, because I had no idea that there was that little historic street. But when I found that and then walking, seeing all this art that was right there, it kind of blew me away. It's like, wow, in Oak Harbor, really? And it, had no idea. So that was pretty cool.
I'm ready, I got my love thing. See, I've been up here on and off since 1980, so I've watched it ebb and flow and everything. And I'm really excited with the flow that is starting to occur on Pioneer Way. There's actually reason to walk and stop. There are shops that you can walk in that are interesting. My kids like walking, and my grandkids love walking into some of the different places. So that's a change from just pre-COVID where there was nothing there.
That recent.
There was a many years where there wasn't much.
There was nothing,
Downtown, yeah.
and now there is.
Even changing the parking is
You think so? That was so controversial.
actually,
Parking.
now that
I still
this
have my
weekend,
or my-
this weekend, an artist person in Langley that I was in community with was like, "Oh, Pioneer is looking so cute." So we're getting compliments from places that we used to not get compliments about.
From Langley, wow.
Yeah, from way up there, and so those, but it's important. It's important because it's noticeable. And then it's changing the narrative, and those small seeds of change happen. And if we could figure out how to spark them on fire, and then all of the little flashes light up, and then now there's a light shined on us in a way that used to not be. And we're talking about like what we love about Oak Harbor. When I first moved here, I was like, oh, this is like South Central. And then, not in a bad way, it's because people think about, and this, I guess this is a good analogy, people hear South Central LA and they think, ugh, South Central LA, riots. I live in South Central, I'm from South Central. And inside of South Central is a rich variety of demographics. You have people on the lower end of the economic level, and then you have people also on the high end and in the middle. You have nice cars, crash cars, you have the middle of the road cars, and then you have people just passing through. And what struck me though here was not so much of all of that that made it solidify that it was like, it was the kids. It was the kids walking back and forth or wherever I saw them in the street, and they had like different color hair. Their clothes weren't always the best clothes, but one thing is that they all had different color hair. And sometimes they would be walking in groups, and then you'd see that they were wearing pajamas, but then they were wearing each other's pajamas. Like someone would have the top on and someone would have the bottom, and then they would mismatch their shoes, or they would be different. And I'm like, this is creativity. They don't have an outlet for their creativity, so they're making it, right? And then that's what I loved. I loved that these kids were living their creativity out loud. That's what I loved. And that's what drew me to the part of wanting to interact with the youth, because they get to a place, elementary school, they're paid attention to, but when they get to the middle to high school, there's this gap. And then nobody knows what to do with them, but they're skateboarding, they're rough and tumble. It's that age, right? But they're all creative, like writing on their shirts or making clothes out of no clothes and just being different. And that's what I loved about the artistic pieces, that artistically the youth had it. And that's before I knew that they have this outstanding music that kids leave here. The art, the creativity also leaves here. We have class act music programs and theater programs. And then I met this teacher while I was part-timing who is like this, Pamela, what's her name? She was like an English teacher that is on what's her name?
Holly.
Yeah, Patricia Hawley. She's
Pam's her daughter, yeah.
Patricia Hawley is like, this professor, this teacher, this writer, this poet from here. And then I met her student that was with her who came from California and took her to lunch. He's an adjunct professor of writing at UCLA. This stuff is happening here, but it's happening here like undercover, like don't tell anybody. And really it should be out loud. And it's not happening in Langley. It's not happening in Coopville. It is happening in Oak Harbor, except the people, hell, Larry is from here. So Larry left here, went and had his time out in the world and came back and brought that here. He didn't become a musician in Langley. He became a musician here in Oak Harbor and the love of those things. So that's the part where no matter what, this place is an incubator, and it's not being like that incubation and that spotlight. I think that's what I love about the Music Fest. That's it. It's the incubation process that you get to see that all coming out. Even the youth portion of the, it's like kick brass. Those kids are like amazing. Then the girls are like, and then even right now you have the skate shop has open mic. Those kids are writing music. Those kids are writing music and doing, and you got grunge band, punk band, you got kids writing music and singing and performing in front of each other.
Mary, I'm not reading your passion on this. This is not coming across.
I'm just.
I'm a little.
Coffee.
We got to move on. We'll never get.
Anyway.
Because we still, like you said, we still have Therese.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
a hard act to follow.
Yeah, Therese, let Therese
Okay, I'll just say I love the art here because I think it's very diverse, and I think it really represents this community in a lot of ways. The whales and the military and all that sort of stuff. So
Therese, you go.
When we moved here, there was a Canadian chef that had opened a really cool little restaurant. Like he won a competition in Canada, and it was on Pioneer Way. It didn't last very long, and there was sushi down where it was called Inferno or something. But overall, the town was super sad, and it took me a long time because we would go to Seattle all the time, or Port Townsend or someplace else, and I just said, I used to say I wish I did more homework before we moved here. And then I said, well, we're here, we're entrenched, we have all these friends, we have all these relationships. I think who I am and what I care about, I have to make it better. And when it's like when you move in and you fix your yard up and your next door neighbor's yard looks like hell, and then they fix their yard up and then the next door neighbor's yard that looks like hell, we've been doing that together as a community for the last 10 years. And it shows. And people do notice. And I mean, I can thank Cynthia for asking me to reach out to Paula to paint some windows for the music festival, and I became very good friends with Paula, and then she started painting murals for me. So it's just reaching out, connecting, and loving where you live, and you can, hate it or you can love it, and you can create it. You can create it. And I think that's what we're all doing. And I'm so excited about this movement. And thank you, Brian. Just thank you for coming here.
Also, it's her fault that I'm here. It's her fault. Her fault.
Cynthia, I think you last.
I'll just end with my love for the arts here is the passion that so many community members have for their sense of place, and the diversity that Oak Harbor holds is unmatched by any other town on the island, and I think we should really embrace that. And it's not just all bronze statues. It doesn't have to be all marine, because that's not what we're made of. And it's just very exciting, because I feel like we're kind of growing up about it. We're being serious about it, because we understand the economic and health positive impacts that it has on our youngsters.
On us.
Right? Well, we're young.
Can I say something that I love? I love that it's not precious.
Yeah.
In a way that it feels like you can contribute to it. You can do things that are messy, or you can experiment. I love Langley. I had a great time doing their 2nd Street, and they said don't line everything up. But it's still it's very precious, and there's just a lot more room to breathe and move here, and I like that. I mean, there's different great ways to be great, but I really like the room to move and express and create here that just feels a lot more free. You've got all that space out there in the park. These things that people just put what they love out there. I loved my teachers, and we put this thing out there. Or there's a marker that, some folks that were lost and whatever happened to them in the military. I was trying to figure out what those dates matched with.
The obelisk.
Yeah, and the fact that people have just taken the energy to put stuff out there, like, what's with the Dutch guy with the broom? I don't know. But they're clearly things that people love, and I think you get to a point where you want to think about curating them a little bit more, but I think not losing the sort of that energy of there's room to do something that you love. Okay, so we're not really on our agenda. Speaking of creative, we really want you to put stuff on that plan, because we really want to think about where we want to go in a van. I think some of the things that I've heard here are really great energy in Pioneer Way that didn't used to be there. Clearly, you've done a great job on that. Where's the turn here, Fred moment to get you there? Because
Yes, exactly. Where is that?
I wouldn't know about it.
But I like that. Turn here, Fred.
I do too. I do too.
Turn here, Fred.
We put a statue.
Can we just have like?
Every time I tell that story, I like, stop the freaking car, Fred.
But can you just like get like those, those signs, and just put the turn here, Fred sign,
Yeah.
and then every time then people.
The City of Oak Harbor, the digital sign.
Yeah, but
right
not
there.
no. Like
No,
just
digital,
randomly,
digital.
like the
Yard
signs.
signs, kind of.
Yard signs, but instead
good
of
at
they're
that.
like, instead of political, it's turn here, Fred. But it's like turn here, Fred, and it's going to West
We do
Beach.
have,
Turn
we
here,
have
Fred.
space. Langley can't go anywhere
That
else.
was where she wanted.
Coopville can't
Yes.
really
that's
go
exactly-
anywhere
That's
else.
what she wants.
Oh.
You want where we want art, right?
We,
That's what this
we
is
can,
for.
we have
Where are
space
they
that
put
hasn't,
us
that
for?
no one's been
Bus
there.
tour.
Oh, the bus tour, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Both.
Well, I messed it up
No, you
already.
What is the
Well,
rest?
just
They wanted
take a
the-
pen and write on it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It does.
They wanted sculpture.
I'll say
they wanted
want.
sculpture parks.
yeah,
Right,
where
in
are the
orange.
sculpture parks? Where are the entries? But you put your dot anywhere and just tell us why you put the dot there.
Isn't it?
No, that's, there's 16. Or no, I'm reading,
Oh, 20, I saw 20. Yeah,
Okay.
that's okay.
Okay.
Read my questions, right?
I'm sorry.
If we don't get,
It's
we can
coffee.
save some
It's the
for
coffee.
Saturday.
I shouldn't, this is my fourth cup of coffee.
Oh, no, it's great.
Oh, I know. He was saying.
Yeah.
The artist on caffeine is a
79
force.
months.
Where the Sonics is going.
Annie, you still there?
They have to do a lot of landscaping because of.
I am, yeah.
Do you have questions for these
And so
guys while
he said,
we got
Is
it?
there art going there? So we're gonna need a piece of-
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I feel like I didn't hear a lot about when we were talking about kind of the untapped opportunities is just, what are your questions about funding resources in Oak Harbor? Do you have questions? Do you have thoughts about how funding for arts compares to what the other city services you're funding?
Because Annie does that stuff.
Well,
How's Oak Harbor doing? They're peerless, but how are they doing with that compared to other cities?
Is that a question for me?
That's good. If you can.
Well, I mean, I think there's always challenges and opportunities, right? I think you have a great strength in that you have the Creative Arts Fund and there is dedicated funding for arts, but I also think the magnitude of that funding is very limited. So, and it's also, a single stream. The other thing that isn't really clear at this point that we need to explore is what are other city departments doing that's arts adjacent? Because I think my analysis has been somewhat narrowly focused on what is happening specific to the Arts Commission and through the Creative Arts Fund. But we all know that another way to get arts in our community is to make sure that our capital projects prioritize art elements or public art as part of those projects. Similarly, streets and wayfinding, we've just had a really long conversation about signs. I think there's a big question mark there. It's difficult to compare to peers without understanding what are other city departments doing relative to arts. And I think, for me, the big question is what is the appetite? I sometimes boil down my work to, we help communities figure out how to fund what they want and need at a price they can afford and are willing to pay. And I don't really know the answer to what they want and need right now. Because I do think there's a balance with art about, people want a lot of things, but they aren't always willing to pay for them.
I'll make a comment, and these guys can chime in on funding particularly. Last year, and we have some new commissioners since then, but last year when we had a workshop with council, some of the comments from council were concerns about the fund balance of the art fund. That, they felt like we were, we were bringing in these $60,000 in proceeds, but just holding on to the money, and which really wasn't the intent. Now you might do that if we're doing that purposely for maybe a larger project, but so they felt that it was kind of aimless in how those funds were being spent, and there was some concern of, we're kind of beholden to whatever artists approach the city and said, hey, I would like to play some art in the city. Okay, well that sounds like a good idea. Let's do this or that. And so there really was a desire, which was a little bit of the, I guess, catalyst for going in the direction with an art plan of making sure that we were purposely budgeting out the art fund, and there was clear direction how those monies were being spent, and there was some kind of a, this is matching council's priorities in placemaking and things like that, right? It didn't go far, but there were comments of like, maybe we should pull back on the funding if we have all this money that's not being spent, that could go towards better things than just sitting there, right? And so one of the hopes is
I don't want to cut you off
go
because
ahead.
you have a lot of information to share with Anna about what you've accomplished in a short period of time. But I agree with Brian 100%. And I'll go back to one of my opening statements of there was nothing internally supportive of ideas. So the fund balance grew because if there was an idea brought forward, it fell short. It fell off, it literally fell off a cliff.
And everything has to be okay.
And
by the
everybody
city
had,
council.
everything had to be okayed by city council. With that being said, with Brian in place, there's this whole, global vision of what has to happen with the maintenance of our existing art, which not in place. How we're, and why we're here with you.
Yeah.
Once the plan is in place and we can focus on what that vision is for placement, I truly believe, build it and they will come. If we learn how to put those call to artists out for the visions that we collectively feel from the community, the funds will be found. It doesn't have to be from this art fund. This fund could be gobbled up with 3 installations.
Well, I think, we talked a little bit about goals, and I think we get to goals after we have some of these discussions. But I would say one is to take the resources that you have and find something that is really wonderful to do with that. And something that I would hope could heal some of the divides about capital A art that have, unfortunately happened in the community. And to see if we can find a way to do something with, a sizable resource that can help bring people together and be a real benefit that's not just for, the art people.
Well, there's some education to be done with our community at large too. I'm very passionate about the help that art brings to the community. There's those that are passionate about what we do with our homeless, I'm not sure if that's the right term anymore. Houseless, whatever it is, and all those other really big social issues. It's not just one checkbook. And it's up to council with input of community on how they come together for their comprehensive plan, which I can't wait that this plan becomes a part of, so it's taken seriously.
Right.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
We don't know. We're uneducated on what economic development is. And when you turn around the example of the people here that vote, they voted down a school bond that all the schools are ancient and need to be replaced. They voted that down. And at the same time, there were people out there holding signs up. They didn't want their kids taught this, et cetera, which had nothing to do with the school bond. So the school district is fighting to try to build new schools, and we have taxpayers that don't want to give any extra money. And even when you tell them it's not an increase on your taxes, I don't want to pay for it. So we get a school bond that doesn't pass, a levy that won't pass. Now you're going to talk to them about art?
And so
And there's, wait a minute, there's $300,000 in art? They don't know apples and oranges.
And there's potholes in the street.
And there's potholes in the street. And we just still don't have an Olive Garden, or a Chick-fil-A. Where's my In-N-Out burger? So there's that mentality that we're uneducated here.
Oh, I should tell you that these great photos of people that put mosaics into the potholes. There's some great things.
Oh, I've seen
that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. There's one thing, in talking about the money and the budget that's kind of scary to say that we only have a single source of funding.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be something, from a creative standpoint, where else should we be? Because this is where my brain goes. Okay, so if we have X amount of money devoted every year to maintenance of what we have already, so if we start to add to that group of things that we have installed, then that's going to grow the maintenance budget request. But if we have just a limited, like this is what we have, how are we going to maintain that over more than just a
There's so
few?
much money out there devoted for the arts with endowments and state and federal funding. And Brian, we now have a grant writer within the city. So she's done amazing things now. Her name is Wendy?
Yeah,
Am I
Wendy
right?
Horn.
She's done amazing things already for Brian and his group with parks and improvements. So those things happen, right? Once you have a
Right.
vision to do this or create
You have to
something, you go.
scale it. You
Yeah,
have to scale your budget to maintain what you're doing.
well, and just go find
Yeah, I
a
mean,
good.
there's that issue. I think what you're talking about, Cynthia, is that if we could create some magnets for funding,
Yeah,
you know, like Little Tieton got that NEA grant for the mosaics, speaking of mosaics. And, it changed the town. They had mosaics
Mhm.
everywhere. You know, if there is something that we can come up with that is really a public benefit and a wonderful thing, you know, that's when we look for the grants, not that there's a grant writer to be had.
And do we, as this, because it's city, do we have opportunity to partner with private companies to reach out to the banks that do business here, where, you know, other, even nonprofits and partnering,
Brian, you
extending,
should speak to that, but the answer is yes, but it's just having the right legalese in place.
right, that, I mean, it's just
So,
like,
and a good example of that for me is the center, the senior center, as it rides along its merry way with the Senior Center Foundation. So that nonprofit helps benefit programs and helps benefit whatever capital improvement they want to do, along with being able to operate differently than a municipality as
Right.
far as fundraising goes and all
Right.
of those. I'm a very
right.
slightly educated on it only because of my role with the music festival. Brian's definitely more schooled on
It
all
was
that.
just like.
I would be curious about, because I remember as pre-COVID, I was looking at from a nonprofit, and we were looking at Whidbey Has Talent, of where grant money was, and I was surprised when I was shown where grant money was going, and like at Langley, how much grant money they were getting from like Boeing and Bill Gates and stuff like that, and our grant support was going to Island Thrift, you know, and the amount of where money could be, and like, we didn't have grant writers, so, and you look at Mount Vernon, where grant money is there. So I'd be curious about where our lack of grant money, you know, trying to go get it.
Well, and it's up
Yeah.
to our nonprofits. I mean, we have a lot of nonprofits on this
And-
island. I mean, we were close to 300 of them the last time I
And-
200 and something. So there's passion and overlapping visions
And it's not
missions,
focused.
But
It's-
it's
What do you do
it's
with
up to
that?
them to go to the grant database and pull those funds.
Yes.
Well, there can also be a role for capacity building for the city to support that effort as well. So,
Right, because I'm just thinking that the city could be eligible for artistic grants
Absolutely.
that are given out, like Washington was giving out like $25 million in grants. I
Through
don't-
Arts Walk.
Right, and so like, how do we
Very
tap in?
specific categories.
Right, there's very specific, but if you're, you know, you're searching, and that's why I was wondering if the city is eligible for those types of things.
Mhm.
And, you know, and then again, private business as well, because everybody's benefiting everyone else, right? And so the private business part is like, you're gonna write it off somewhere. You might as well write it off in the town that you're doing business in, and those management people will have access to community, and just, again, just tapping into the resources that we have available.
So
I'll
Brian,
flip-
I'm gonna ask
okay.
Brian a direct question. So, we're gonna use our skate park as an example,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we'd like to see happen going forward out of this exercise, is using that as an example. So, if we woke up tomorrow and Wendy was given the task to find a grant to improve skate park, which include art installations, it could happen.
For sure.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, Perry and I did the skate park at Seattle Center and moved it, and that's just one of my favorite projects.
Our
Skaters.
That's the
Our
other center.
issue has never actually been having the ability to do these things.
It's what
It
to
has
do it.
been the priority of 1,000 things that we want to do. How do we? Where do we
Where you
start?
start, yeah.
That was where I was gonna say, you can do all the, yes, we can go get money, and my question, for what?
Yeah.
Well, now we actually are having these discussions, and 2 years ago we weren't at all.
And it shouldn't be, the for what shouldn't be 7 members on the art commission that would decide what we're gonna go for, it's,
Well, it's up to council.
but it's up to council, and again, it would, you know,
That's a whole nother-
And
Like you said,
council
the community.
needs a guide for their decision making,
Probably
a
recommendations.
shared
Hopefully what we're
vision
gonna
and
which comes down to
policy
this, if you get the vision with the
and-
what.
yeah.
Well, and public benefit, they care a lot about public
Right.
benefit.
They also care about economic development.
Yeah.
ROIs, absolutely.
That's always gonna be the part for council is,
Yep.
At least 3 of them.
yeah.
And
There
so
are
all these
ROIs.
discussions should include the storytelling of, you know, how does placemaking benefit the community as a whole, right? And that's what they need as a backdrop to all the individual, you know, this is my perception of an art piece on whether I like it or not, or my perception of how we're spending art funding. Okay, thank you for your input. As a community as a whole, you know, we have adopted this plan, and this is kind of the plan that we're going to follow along. And how does, you know, what the art commission is putting forward, or things that the community are bringing forward on their own, fit within that roadmap?
We're awesome.
You are.
Okay,
7 o'clock. 7:07. So
7,
we're-
can we, it's late.
Was that the closing up with the bow?
It is getting a little late, and we honestly could like stay here for another 5 hours, but
Yeah.
I would suggest if we want to do this art walk, we should do it
Yeah.
while we have daylight.
Yeah, let's do that.
And does, Boa, did you want these?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
What are we doing now?
Oh, I didn't
Turning in your paper.
The paper.
Not, I know, it's like scribbly and nice and.
Yeah, do you want to explain what's next
Yeah,
with the art walk and what the purpose is, what we're going to do, where we're going to go?
What are we doing now?
yeah,
We're gonna go for a walk.
Because
So
Mary's
we're gonna
looking,
yeah.
you got to pump Mary up to get a little exercise.
I'm not with it right now.
Okay, so,
You're not with it?
yeah.
She's
So-
coming down from the caffeine.
Yeah, so we are just going to,
Can we just go eat instead? No.
no, we are just going to do a small walk from here to Pioneer Way. Maybe we'll stop in front of the Serendipity Lane. And then we just have a conversation of the public art there. How do you feel about it? Whether it reflects the identity of Oak Harbor? And then how do we think about like paddling this energy from the waterfront into? Yep.
Now, part of this exercise is also to refine what we want to do and talking points for the sound walk on Saturday.
Yes.
Which I won't.
Okay, so, and what
So
is
this is sort of a first run through
Appetizer.
of the public version of this.
Okay.
I won't be
No,
here
I was,
Saturday.
because this is in the flyer from the
I'll
light.
be giving.
And I was just like,
Thank you
oh,
guys
we're
for
French
coming.
fries. I was like, what was that?
So she got.
Thank you, Annie.
Oh,
All right, thank you.
do need, well,
Nice meeting everyone.
we're, like, taking
You've
them
been hit
on
by
a walk.
a smooth
Thank
criminal.
you for everything.
No decisions will be
Yeah,
made on them, so
you guys will
anyone who
send
wants to
it
participate
communication.
in
I
that
will.
here at 6:30,
Just-
and
Yeah, so JR, you need to close
Oh,
out.
yeah, okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn
I'll make the motion to adjourn our session.
the
and go
formal
on.
session and then,
Third it.
okay, all in favor? Okay.
all in favor?
You